Hey there guys and gals, for today's recommended reading we're going to be talking about the Halo franchise of books. If you've played the game, it's a science fiction, space, military war. It's a fun game, I really enjoyed the series. I'm not good at the online, like most games, but I do love the story. I've really enjoyed the games for their story, and I've enjoyed the gameplay to get me through that. But the books are another whole thing. Like I said, I got into reading thanks to Dune. And this is another situation where I probably could have gotten to reading with this as well. The Halo books are all well written, and what I love about them is that they expand the world that the game takes place in, and the game expands the world that the books take place in. What that means is that if you've played the games and you go to read the books, you're going to get things out of the books you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't played the games. And if you read the books and then go to play the game, you're going to get things out of the game that you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't read the books, which means, or at least what I mean by that is, they both coexist and they both help each other. They benefit each other. So if you go through both, you'll enjoy them both. If you enjoy the story from one side, you're going to enjoy the story from the other side. The difference is that one has you interacting with it by playing the game, and the other one has you comfortably reading it. There's a good few books, so I'm not going to try and go through and explain them all. The ones I would recommend, you can start with the main series and go chronologically, which is, I believe it starts with The Fall of Reach? Yeah, The Fall of Reach. Which that is the first in the main series, but there's a lot of other side stuff that's being done now. Also there's comics and all that stuff, but I'm more or less talking about the novels. The Fall of Reach takes place with events that actually are both before and during the Halo Reach video game, and the book came out well before that game came out. So there's a lot in that book that wasn't in the game, and by a lot I mean pretty much everything that was in the book was not in the game. They had a whole different story essentially in the game. So I do recommend Halo: The Fall of Reach. Another one that's pretty good is the Cole Protocol. I enjoyed that one. And Contact Harvest is probably, I would say, a very important one because of the fact that Contact Harvest is essentially, chronologically, it is the first book because it is when humanity meets up with the Covenant. And I won't ruin any spoilers on that. I do recommend them books. They're well written. They've had a few different authors, and there's been some that were, I guess people had some issues with one or two continuity errors, things like, this shouldn't have happened because this was happening or whatever. I didn't pay attention to that. I enjoy the stories because they're really good, and I enjoy the story in the game because it's really good, and I love the effect that I get and the knowledge I have from reading one and playing the other. So I would heavily recommend those. This is probably a shorter recommended reading. I don't know if I'll be having all of these reach to 5 minutes or more, but I definitely think it's going to be fun. So let's continue with the reading then. Take care, guys.